Hey everybody, it's Rob. I'm going to do something a little bit different this time. It's hot as hell outside, and frankly, I just got back from Bimini, and I don't want to go anywhere near my boat. I'm boated out. But what I want to do is take a couple minutes and talk about some of my lessons learned from this trip. And there's a couple of things that I'm going to touch base, on. One, well, this is going to be for mostly the people that didn't go, but are looking forward to going, or people that just don't even know about it. And some of the videos that are going to start coming out from our trip are going to spark some interest or some things that I think people should know. These are questions that I should have asked ahead of time or taken action on, and for whatever reason, I just didn't. So, first and foremost, watch the weather forecast. We all know that, especially down here in Florida, you can wake up in the morning, pretty much every day in the summertime, it's going to be anywhere between 30 to 50% chance of rain, high of 95, every day. You go outside, sunny as hell, not a cloud in the sky all day, or the very next day, exact same forecast, there's going to be thunderstorms and lightning strikes everywhere. So, get your weather forecast from more than one source. Because when we left out of Pompano Beach right around 5:30. A little windy, but the forecast was 2-foot seas, and that was pretty much it. A little bit windy. But as soon as we came out of the channel, I think we all knew that those weather sources were dead ass wrong, because there was probably 10, 15 mile an hour winds, and the sky was dark as crap. Neither one of us, when I say us, I mean my wife and I, and then Jeremy and Caroline, our friends that went with us, neither one of us were smart enough to say we should probably wait another day. And don't be afraid to do that if you take this trip. Don't be afraid to say, I ain't going in that shit, which is what we should have done. We were way out of our league. So, but anyway, the bottom line is, watch the weather forecast, get it from more than one source, and then don't be afraid to make a mature decision to wait another day or wait a couple hours, because when we went over there, we hit 8, and I know some of those were 10-foot waves. Our boat's got the hell beat out of them. Both of my seats are broken. The captain's seats are broken. My boat's actually in the shop. Getting that stuff looked at. I'm getting some other stuff, some warranty work done. But yeah, don't be afraid to do that. So that's step one in your prep. Number 2, GPS. For whatever reason, I didn't buy the GPS. I think it's just because I'm a cheap bastard. And I knew that Jeremy had one in his boat. But I will never make that mistake again. I am actively pursuing a GPS to have installed in my boat. I'll never go anywhere without one again. It's kind of like that 4-wheel drive thing. You may never use that 4-wheel drive except for once. But it's that one time when you're glad you got it. And I needed it because gas turned out to be an issue, and I'll touch base on that later on. But Jeremy and I got separated for a short amount of time, and I didn't know where the hell I was going. So GPS, don't take a Bimini trip without one. I don't care if it's a handheld or one installed on your boat. Just don't do it. Spend the money. It's definitely worth it. So the next one is VHF radios. Let me tell you, again, my dumbass said, I'm not going to spend a couple $100 on a radio. I'm just going to buy a handy-dandy handheld. Dumb. The handheld is great for when you get there, because it's got enough distance where you can talk pretty much around the island. Everybody can kind of hear you. Because everybody uses their radios at the island, and that's how we all communicate, is via the VHF radios, which is kind of a cool setup. So take a handheld all you want, But just like the GPS, do not go without a nice radio and a big ass antenna. When I say big ass antenna, I'm getting like an 8 to 10 foot antenna. I want to talk to people down in Cuba if I need to, because again, Jeremy and I got separated, and that was part of the reason we couldn't communicate, because both of us just had handhelds. So that was dumb on our part to not have the radio. So in my personal opinion, don't make a trip, whether it's Bimini or the Keys or wherever, don't make a long distance trip without a good VHF radio installed on your boat with a nice, good quality antenna. So that and the EPIRBs, the personal locator beacons, also recommend taking that. We did have one of those. It's like $400. That's the deal where you can pop it in the water if it gets wet. It sends a signal off to the Coast Guard, your GPS satellite, your coordinates, and they'll come and get you. So those three things, make sure you have all that stuff in your boat. I had one of the three, the EPIRB. I'll never do that again. So do not take a trip without a GPS or a nice VHF radio. Now, I've gotten some questions prior to my going, and even since I've gotten back from some of my subscribers that are planning on going next year. How much is gas? How much money to take? Credit cards, cash, all this basic stuff that my wife and I kind of asked a couple of the other people. And it's kind of mixed match. The answers we got: gas is unpredictable. It varies every day, kind of like it does here. But I'll tell you, it's expensive. When we got there, the first day it was $4.88 a gallon. So 50 gallons, it's $260. Because I was flat ass empty, and I'll get into that again too when I got into the marina there at the Sands Resort. So here's what we did. We took cash. We took $1,500 in cash. We had our debit cards or credit cards with us just in case. We're not real big on memorabilia type stuff. We got a couple t-shirts. That's pretty much it. Bought some local food. We're not big on that stuff, but most of our money was spent on gas. I think we spent $500 or $600 total on gas for the entire week that we were there, because we went out on the boat every single day. So that's as far as cash goes, spending money. That's what we did. Their money down there is pretty much one for one, same as ours. So gas, money, covered that. What else was there? Lodging. A lot of the people went to the Sands Resort. It's kind of like a sponsor type thing with the Jetboat Forum. We used Airbnb, and we spent a little bit more money per week than everybody else. But the accommodations that we have were tenfold what everybody else had. We spent $2,500 for a week. It was from Monday through Friday, but we split it between the couples. But we had three bedrooms. We had a chef-style kitchen. The master bedroom had a separate kitchen upstairs. Had a 100-foot dock. Had a bar in it. Came with bicycles. We could ride around the island. We definitely got the better deal. The Sands, I think it was like $1,500 a week for like a 1-bedroom, 2-bath type deal. But from what we heard, some had cable, some didn't. Some had internet, some didn't. Ours had all that. We had satellite, and we had TVs in every single room, to include the bathroom. So where you stay is up to you. We stayed not even a mile from the Sands. We were just down the canal from it. So, but once we got there, let me tell you about the trip over there real quick. So here's what happened. We took off, and we really should have turned around, but we kept going. We hit 8-foot swells pretty much the majority of the way, and because of that, gas was just being eaten alive. And And this is why I say don't be afraid to turn around. Long story short, we got about 7 miles out. Let me back up. About 15 miles out, and we ran into some boats that were floating. They ran out of gas. Because of the weather, they were going so slow, and it just ate through gas. So we stopped to make sure everybody was all right. They were floating for a couple hours. I picked up 4 of their kids because the kids were all scared. They got on my boat, and we hauled ass. Jeremy and Caroline hauled ass. Jeremy and Caroline ran out of gas 7 miles out from Bimini Island. They had more people. They had more stuff, so they were heavier. And it was just one of those choices. I had to leave his ass out there. I don't like to do that. I never leave a man behind. But there's no sense in both of us sitting out there running out of gas. So I went as fast as I possibly could with the weather conditions and just barely made it into Bimini Sands Resort where I could fill up gas. And again, now this is where the radio comes into play and the GPS. When I got there, mind you, 7 miles out was Jeremy, so I'm filling up gas. We're trying to get him on the radio to make sure everything's still okay, and we couldn't reach it because all we had was our handhelds. He couldn't hear us, I couldn't hear them. It was just a shit sandwich. So all the people in the Sands Resort, communications flying all over the place. It really was kind of a mess. There was no centralized communication. It was just, oh, I heard this, I heard that, I heard this. And it was a disaster. So we had gotten word from one of the other boaters that Jeremy and Caroline was provided gas and they were on their way back in. Okay, great. My wife and I docked. We did our customs. And after an hour and a half, 2 hours, they still weren't back. Something was wrong. So we went back out looking for them. We did about a 10, 11 mile radius type thing, back and forth, north and south, looking for them. Couldn't get them on the radio. Now we're getting worried. After about 3.5 hours, I was like, well, maybe they're going to turn their cell phone on, and I'm going to try to get them that way. And that's the only way we found them, was we finally were able to link up on cell phones. They sent me their grid coordinates, which on the new boats, on the home screen on the Connect piece of shit, is very tiny, tiny little grid coordinates that you have to be 18 years old with 18-year-old vision to read the damn things. So I just pointed that direction, and off we went. We got gas cans, filled them up, and off we went. They ended up drifting 17 miles out. So they were out there floating for about 3.5, 4 hours, and that was pretty scary. And communication was zip. So it shouldn't be like that. With as many boats that were out there, communication was trash. The relay of information was trash. In my opinion, with the military background that I've got, establish command and control right away. One location, one person sends and receives all information. That way it doesn't change as it goes out and comes in. And that's kind of what happened. There was a lot of information flow with a lot of people spreading that information, and it just was not accurate. And in the meantime, Jeremy and Caroline were out there floating around. And that's a scary thought. Scary that somebody's out there, but scary that you're not going to be able to find your friends again. So keep that in mind. So that's kind of how I tied in the equipment with the GPS and the radios. If we both were to have had big ass radios, we would have been able to communicate with each other, and we could have found them a whole lot quicker. So forgive me looking at my phone. I got some notes here if I want to make sure I'm getting everything I wanted to. Yeah, I think that's it. So we made it, barely. Both my seats, like I said, both my seats are screwed up. They're getting fixed this week. I've been having troubles with my radio, so they're replacing the head unit this week. They're going to check everything over, make sure nothing else came loose. But these boats took a beating. Man, they took a beating. But when we got there, beautiful weather, rained every day, but it was just like 15 minutes, 20 minutes. It was great. Water was just absolutely gorgeous. So if you go, make sure you take some of my advice. I mean, you don't have to, do what you want. But I highly recommend weather forecast, proper electronics, the EPIRB, take cash or credit card, you know, and just have a good time. Be safe, have a good time. And I'm going to put out I'll put out a video. I think my wife's going to work on it. We took the GoPro with us, and I bet you we have like 35, 40 different video clips. I think she's going to put something together, but we'll post them out there. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to let me know. If I can't answer it, I'll find somebody that can. And that's it. I'll talk to y'all later.